This discussion around play boosters has gone in a lot of different directions. We got pissed off people, we got happy people, we got people in the middle going, I don't really care. I think that we need to take a more nuanced approach to this, and Jake and the community agree. On our last stream, we all got together, we went through a lot of articles and data and smart people's information from the internet that has broken this whole thing down and provided a lot more context and different thinking points with the play boosters in mind. 30% of you are subscribed watching this, and that's cool, but if you're in the 70%, also cool. Just think about clicking that subscribe button if you like the video by the end of it. We'll be right back, and we will discuss play boosters from like every angle we can possibly think of. We should establish the full context of the entire play booster, and then we can look at some of that data stuff and just kind of get our reactions as we go. So some of this really quickly, some markets have stopped ordering draft boosters from WotC altogether. That made sense. They already kind of hinted at that. Modern play design as it was evolving, they made it obvious that they could reduce the draft shaft in booster products, making the play boosters more exciting for them. And I thought this was interesting, Jake. Booster size was originally dictated by the printers, not limited design. So that is why that was never a choice for them. That was a dictate. And so them going down to 14 instead of 15, it makes sense that they just really don't care about it. Do you think that, is that surprising to you to learn?
It saves them, in theory, just based on the cards, 1/15 of the ink and the money, right?
Yeah,
the card
but
stock.
I think it's interesting that from a game design perspective for draft, the 15 card number was just arbitrary, pretty much. It was something given to them as you have to design by, we're going to give them 15 cards every time. And so going to 14, I really don't feel like it's going to be that big of a change. At least they don't.
You know, sometimes when you're drafting and you're in this like moment where you're on the fence and you're trying to figure out, you know, like, am I going to stay red green? I have a couple really good black cards and it looks like black is open, and you're trying to figure out, you know, is it going to be a Jund thing, or am I going to end up being green black by the end of this? Those last few picks can sometimes really help drafts like that.
Yeah.
Where it's like smoothing out those moments of indecision. But most of the time when I'm drafting and I know what my colors are early on, and I'm able to draft in a semi-focused kind of line of thinking, I never really have any problem having enough cards to go in the deck.
Yeah.
So I think for most players that are used to draft, and obviously sealed, it's not going to be really any different. I think it's not going to change very much, but I do think that it could lead to some people having a more difficult time deck building, but they'll just have to get over it.
So they are changing because of this change. They're changing how they design entire sets, which makes sense. They said one of the goals was to improve the quality of the commons, starting with Murders at Karlov Manor, which is where this all starts, eliminating sideboard style cards and fringe cards from that slot while increasing removal and playables. Commons should be all cards you want to play in a limited deck main board. So the goal for sideboard cards moving forward is that they'll be more modular and also appear at uncommon, so you see them less frequently. And more uncommons per set means that they can include a few more niche build-around cards per set that will appeal to enfranchised players who draft more. And so it feels like overall they're just like, guys, all we're going to have to do is cut the absolute crap cards out of our sets, and that's pretty much going to be it. There's going to be some more uncommons, but that just means that we can make more cards specific to that set's mechanics, which, I mean, if you want to transpose that to a commander line of thinking, that should make more niche decks have more playables. Having any card with like Lord of the Rings that has anything to do with being a ring bearer, the more cards that you can get in that deck that say you're tempted by the ring, even if it's 4 mana, destroy target creature, the ring tempts you, more of those types of cards are going to make that commander deck more fun to play because you're going to get more synergistic options. And so it seems like a pretty easy change that's only going to be a net benefit. Is that how you're seeing it, or am I seeing it too optimistically?
I don't know, because we did say Style Up here says we are only losing 3 cards.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a lot to take in. It's a lot to take in all at once.
Hey Brandon, what's up?
Wizards they admitted that they knew early that set boosters were causing draft boosters to stop being ordered, but it took time to design and develop the play boosters. Price increase to match set booster pricing was locked in before the extra rares and guaranteed foils were even a thing. The latter exists to alleviate the pain of the former. And here's a quote: "Our job as the people making the game is trying to figure out what players want, what players need, and trying new things to meet those expectations." If we jump out then to making the packs more collectible, which is what they were talking about in this section, the list is dropping from 300 cards to 40 cards so that they can be localized into Japanese, and so that the cards can thematically tie in more easily to either the world or the limited environment. The full 40 list cards will change with each set. So Jake, we're gonna have to now, instead of like ignoring the changes to the list, I think we'll actually have a good time every set looking at what those 40 cards are on the list and kind of breaking down the percentages, which there's some data on what the percentage pull rates of these will probably be. But then this next part was even huger when I read it. Full 40 list cards will change for each set, and some sets might have no list and instead opt for a different bonus card slot. So
like the special guest.
Exactly. When we speculated that special guest was completely preventing anything from like Mystical Archive or Enchanting Tales from existing, this is pretty much an admission that that's still on the table.
Yeah, I do like them being able to condense the list. I think that was important, because if you were lucky enough to get a list card in any of these other sets, there were a lot of times where you would get junk. Now, I know that we have had really good list hits. There's been like Cavern of Souls, Ancient Tomb, a ton of really good cards that have shown up on there. And if these 40, like thematically, if they have to tie them in with the set, make sure that they work with the limited environment.
Right.
Then I'm hoping that they'll at least curate it to where it's like if you do pull a list card, you have a 1 in 4 chance at pulling something really good.
Right.
Like something that sure works in your limited environment, but a 1 in 4 chance at something very strong off of this list, or else it's not going to add much pack value if it's just a rare that's worth 50 cents, something like that.
Yeah. They touched on the fact that they wanted the bonus sheet to be the list slot to be a draftable piece of it, which we talked about. I mean, Jake, it's like you said, it's got to be tied to the limited environment. If you've got Ikoria, for instance, had cycling and discard synergies, as did like Amonkhet, you're not going to want to put a bunch of +1/+1 counter stuff on the list if we're going to a set where cards being discard is the kind of like synergy that we need.
I got a doubling season. Right. It's like, this is great for my collection, but it does nothing.
I'm trying to win tonight so I can get some more packs, right? Arena's not going to get all the cards, which is a big duh. They're not going to put Mana Crypt in the Historic Brawl. And then this bottom line, the bonus commander cards. Now, these are the ones where they only appeared in set or collector boosters. They were not in the precons, but they were considered commander cards. You know what I'm talking about? Those are being completely done away with. Thank Bolus. We're done with those. And that they said that commander has got enough support. We don't need these random, not in the set, not in the precon commander cards in these boosters anymore. Are you going to miss those, or do you think that that's a good change like I do?
So what we're talking about here, are we talking about when you open a set booster and you get one of the cards that's from a precon? Is that what we're talking about here?
No. So like if you go to, let's go to Dominer.
Yeah, show me exactly what you're talking about.
Really any of these, but I remember one, wasn't it like Titania, y'all? Wasn't this one Nature's Force? Yeah, this is an example of one right here. So what these were was considered part of the commander set. Chat, give me some more examples of these. Like Green Sleeves and Dominaria as well. Oh, Root Path. You remember this thing? These things, this right here, these would always premiere at like $40 because people would get overhyped on the fact that they weren't in the precons, they weren't in the regular set. You could only get them in set or collector boosters, but they seeded them in well enough, unless they really got a super powerful one, which like for Wedding Ring, they just had to reprint it into the Doctor Who set. But
got it.
These are the ones. These are these one-offs that are considered commander cards but aren't in the commander precons and they aren't in the regular set. I don't know. It's just another simplification. If you're going to make it,
I like that change.
Yes.
That works for me. Yeah, I don't think we need that.
Yeah, it really doesn't make sense.
Bank says, I like the commander and ancillary cards. It gave them an option to include cards that are specific to commander, but that didn't fit any of the commander precon colors. Yeah.
Rory liked my thank bolus. So let's check this out. Packs will contain slightly fewer tokens. The hope is that tokens will be reused across sets more regularly so you can carry them over. Okay, fewer tokens, whatever. 36 packs per box instead of 30 like a set box is because you get 3 full drafts for every 2 boxes with 36. 24 was considered, but the financials for box toppers stopped making sense at 24. So they are thinking in terms of 3 boxes being they're thinking in terms of 2 boxes being 3 drafts, and that's why they settled on the 36.
Right.
Slightly more bombs and limited on average, both because of more rares in a draft, but also because they're going to increase power levels slightly. I don't know how we do that from where we're at. More removal
and answers, especially at common, aims to mitigate the risk of this. So we're going to have more removal to deal with the increase in
bombs,
the potential increase in bombs.
Yeah.
Which means that, oh man, for people like me who already go heavy removal, like you're going to have some pretty sweaty decks that are just stacked full of answers if people know what they're doing. We'll see how that pans out.
I thought that was some interesting further context for this whole discussion, because now we can look at the actual economics, the cost impact of what this is. Chat, make sure you go read this whole article, because we're not going to sit here and read this article to you, but this article is fantastic. I just dropped the link there in chat, and we'll make sure it's in the description as well. This is from cardboardbythenumbers.com, and it's called The Numbers That Killed Draft Boosters. They talk about what's going on and why it's all going on, and then they brought some numbers in. Using the data from the last year of Premier sets, which is Dominer United through Wilds of Eldraine, they found that on average, set boosters sold 3.3 times more units than draft boosters across Amazon and eBay. And because of the higher price point of set booster boxes, it means that set boosters generate 4.3 more revenue overall. And so what they found was that these numbers, when you look at them, completely make sense why this change is happening. It's simplifying, it's leaning into what works for them, and it's maintaining trying to maintain what we like from both of these and combine them into one thing. Average person's not going to care too much about this, Jake, but I thought it was interesting to see that their Amazon and eBay data, which they said accounts for what they believe to be 8 to 15% of net sales, just to kind of give it full context of how much
they're
this
using
data
this
even
as a barometer to see
exactly.
like this is probably, you can extrapolate this to see how people engage with it on a bigger scale, who goes to the LGS and buys. I think the shocker
here is that average, and we'll see some buy set breakdowns and you'll see some very funny, interesting things in that, but on average, set boosters selling more than collector boosters and draft boosters nearly combined. Would you have thought that was the case?
Yeah.
Set boosters selling through?
I was never because I know how I engage when I go to the local game store. Very rarely buy a draft pack. But buy a draft pack, it'll probably be for a set like Commander Masters because it's already so expensive and I don't want to pay $50 for a collector pack of it.
Right.
So yeah, this doesn't surprise me. It is a pretty steep difference, I'll have to say.
Chat, I just dropped a poll for y'all.
Go ahead.
Sorry to cut you off, Jake.
No,
we'll jump to you after I just tell them about this. I just dropped a poll. What sealed have you been buying most? Boxes. That's supposed to be single packs or boxes, not singles or boxes. Single packs or boxes. What sealed have you been buying most? Go hit that poll for us real quick. We'll just take the temperature of the room. Jake, what were you going to say?
I don't care if it's called a draft pack or a play booster. I don't really care about the name of it, but it has to be a good product. Jank says, no surprise that set boosters sell more on eBay and Amazon where people are drafting. Right. Yeah, that makes sense. No one's really drafting on eBay or Amazon or anything like that. So maybe that is something to kind of take into consideration, is if people are buying on Amazon, it might make more sense for them to be buying the set booster on there versus the draft booster, especially if they're buying to open. Yeah, I mean, look at the poll already. Already a bunch of people saying
60% of the people hanging out that answered this poll pulled set packs and set boxes. So there you go. Our data's backing it up too. Small sample size theater is working. So look at this by set, Jake. And I want us to look by set and see the trends and see what drove the trend. But when going from Dominer United through Lord of the Rings, Dominer United mostly set boxes.
I love this.
Yeah, this is a good one, right? Dominer United sold more set boxes. Brothers War sold more collector boxes. Why do you think more collector boxes were sold than...
Well, that's pretty obvious, but we can see if chat wants to guess.
Chat, do you know why, with Brothers War specifically, more collector boxes sold than set boxes? That is the question. We're going to do this for each set. Dominer United was on trend.
Let's talk about Dominer United here really quick.
Yeah. 3,500 draft, 17K set box, and 12K collector box.
Yeah. So the collector box there, you have a chance at pulling an old card from Legends. But that's pretty much it.
Right.
The singles in Dominer United are, you have a Shieldred that's really good, like a busted, amazing Shieldred. And then you have a Leyline Binding. And pretty much everything else in there, the showcase cards, the textured foils,
sure,
all of that shit is extremely cheap. So like the draft box, you have no chance at any of the good stuff other than a base or a foil copy at Shieldred. So it makes sense that for anybody opening to collect, Dominer United was not a good product for draft. The set box there makes very little sense to me as well. I think people liked the variants and they bought the set boxes. I can pretty much only understand buying collector boxes of this stuff.
I see what you're seeing though is a set that widely didn't have an enormous amount of pull. It was just your average set. And so they sold average. Let's jump down to March of the Machine. There was some like serialized shenanigans going on in there, but we already knew that Lord of the Rings was coming. And so in general, you see an average set. There was just so much in-set stuff and variant stuff and serialized stuff that it just sold like an average set. Brothers War sold low, but more collector boxes sold there. Chat got it right. And chat, tell us why Phyrexia All Will Be One sold more set boxes, because that is a surprising statistic, but explainable. Brothers War collector boxes, Jake, serialized.
Yeah.
But look at that. It looks like the collector kind of
cared more about the serialized card
right
than the Legends chance.
Exactly.
You know?
But it's interesting to me. It was just overall how that set, you think a set with serialized artifacts and retro frame artifacts set within a set, you think that would have sold better. But Brothers War widely, it undersold even compared to Dominaria United or March of the Machine. It's crazy to me.
Benjamin says, where are the numbers for Aftermath?
Yeah, they are too small to be shown on this graph.
Oh, God.
Look at this. Look at this sealed set boxes. Look at the set boxes for Phyrexia.
Yeah. So in the set product, man, people love Phyrexia because they even came out for draft boxes there.
Yep.
They were into that set. That set also had, didn't that set have serialized cards as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
But very limited. I believe it was
very limited.
Praetors only. The flip plate Praetors only, if I'm remembering correctly.
And there were 500 of each, I believe.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But with Phyrexia, wasn't that set box the only place you could find some of those Ichor treatments? Or was that bundle exclusive?
Oh, Praetors with alternate art. Yeah.
Set boosters of that, set boxes of that one. I mean, just in general.
What was the big thing with the set boxes? Did you just say it? I'm sorry, I was reading chat.
No, I'm remembering that some Ichor treatments could be found only in set boosters.
Oh, Style is saying set had more slots than collectors for Praetors.
There you go. The oil slick was the bundle.
That's right.
Man, there's just a lot of different places and a lot of different collecting things, and I think that's a huge reason of why they want to simplify. We'll go as we go down, they'll show the sheer amount of products for one set and what it broke down to. March of the Machine, pretty self-explanatory, and then when you get to Lord of the Rings, 27,000, you think they were like, wow, one of one serialized really sells some collector boxes, huh?
But look at it compared to Phyrexia All Will Be One. It's honestly pretty close. I mean, sure, there's 5,000 more units sold, but both of those did really well. And so, sure, the one of one thing, I see that being popular. I see that being something that they can return to again.
Sure.
But I'm happy to see that they're not doing it in like a back-to-back kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they're keeping it in their back pocket.
100%. This is what I was going to talk about, or this is what I was talking about with the sheer amount of products. So this is Dominer United. Pink are the booster boxes. Red are the decks, and orange is other.
Yeah.
So with the Amazon and eBay breakdown just on Dominer United, you sold 5,000 more set booster boxes than you did collector boxes, but $200,000 in difference. Not that huge of a margin there.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at draft boxes made barely more than the difference that they made between set and collector. I mean, oof. And then Jumpstart. It's just like, why would a store even buy those? And so then on top of it, you got your packs, you got your release kit, you got your bundles, and then you got your commander decks.
Yeah. And
so if you're a store and you're trying to forecast and what you're going to purchase and what's going to be sitting on the shelves, I mean, it's kind of
this is really good info here because it does kind of illustrate, and I like how they use different size boxes to kind of, give you a size estimate. It's a very small thing to cut out, and then if you can combine it and bundle it into something else, then I mean, they're looking at commander decks, they're looking at collector boxes, they're looking at, well, people are going to keep buying this stuff, so if we change the draft box, it's not going to be that big of a difference, but it becomes a big difference in playing and the cost of entry to play. I think that's the big thing. That's the big takeaway from all of this is it just makes sealed and draft more expensive.
Yeah,
because
for sure.
Pretty much everything else, I don't hate it, man. I really don't. I don't care about the 3 cards in draft.
No.
I don't think that's really going to make that big of a difference. You normally have a bunch of cuts in draft anyway. So for me, it's just the price point of being able to be like, you know what, do I feel like drafting this Friday? Oh, no, it's going to end up being like freaking $60 after tax. I'm just not feeling it.
It is a lot. I want to put that in more context too, but it is going to be more and it's going to be annoying. Look at this though. The MSRP is not existent on products, but using that data from Amazon and eBay, what they did, they tried to find average prices people paid for booster boxes in the last year, suss out what a new player booster box will cost. So these are estimations over here. We do not know what these numbers are going to be, but with the average box sale price of 104 for draft, 122 for set, 147 for play based on 36, 30, and 36 here at 288, 408 and 408 for your estimated price per booster.
Yeah. That's
147.
That's pricey.
I still balk when I see a draft box at 120, and so because in my head a draft box is like 80. That's what it was when I was a young whippersnapper.
What did you pay for that Wilds of Eldraine draft box for the
100 flat? I was not going to. I was in an interesting situation there because I can literally just spin 180 degrees and ask somebody their price and get like competing offers on the same product. And so I went to the first table and I said, how much for a box of draft boosters Eldraine? And he said 120. And I just turned around to another table and said, have you got draft booster boxes? And he goes, yeah. I said, can you beat 120? He said, I'm selling them for 100. And I went, so I was in an interesting situation. Yeah. Right. Okay. Have a good day. But $100. And that's the only price I wanted to pay. So 147. Sure. I mean,
so let's just say, you know, like the days of 120 after tax or whatever are going to be gone after this. I think they kind of were. Draft boxes at my LGS are like, I think 117. So you're looking at probably like 125 out the door for a draft box. And, 147 after tax, it is going to be closer to like 160 for a box of cards. We're going to have to see where it shakes out. But if it's going to be more expensive for distributors to get things to the local game store, then the local game store is going to have to charge a marked up price because, well, they're also going to have to compete with Amazon and stuff. Amazon has become a huge competitor for everybody who sells boxes.
Absolutely, they are. More and more.
I mean, they're just.
That's where the price is getting set.
This is how Amazon Fresh works. Are you ready? They create chips that are pretty much identical to your favorite chips. And then what they do is they charge $6.50 for a bag of chips that you like. But they have their brand that they charge $3.50 for. And it's just as good. And so why would you not pay like $3 less for that bag of chips?
Yeah, that's that Amazon model. What do you think Amazon Basics is? It's the highest performing thing in the category, made for 50 cents cheaper. And then they put a thing on that says... They put a little label on it that says recommended.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazon's choice. And it's the Amazon Basics. I'm like, you don't say.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that the cost of drafts going up is an okay thing. I'm not saying that the cost of boxes going up is an okay thing. But to put another perspective on it, look at it adjusted for inflation. Since 2006, the MSRP of Magic Booster rose from $369 to $399. The cost of distributors only changed once in 2022, and it was only up by about 11%. In the time that it's gone from $399 to in 2006 when that change happened, inflation should make a pack $6.
Yeah.
But the price of a pack has largely stayed the same. They are positing that they think that booster boxes or booster packs are going to settle out to like $5, which is $1 less than the inflation adjustment. And then booster typically are $1 cheaper if you buy them at a box.
Very convenient information for them to just have.
I'm just saying that there's different ways to look at things. And I want to preface, I prefaced talking about this chart by the fact that I don't think it's a good thing that these costs are going up, because the question is this a backdoor? Really quick. Is this just a backdoor way 5-year plan of raising the price of the booster pack from $4 to $5? And I say I can understand the thought, but in practice, they've just raised the prices on other stuff. Why wouldn't they just raise the price? Yeah. It doesn't make sense to go through this set booster. Not draft boosters aren't selling. Let's make a play booster. Let's readjust how we're designing sets. I mean, talk about the lost money in the hours that it took to redesign this booster. Yeah, of course. But we're still complaining and whining. We're still here. We're just chatting about it. Why not just change the price if that's what they wanted to do?
And they can. And I agree with you. They can do that.
Let's look at some of the impact. If you're not following Circovitz on Twitter and you like MTG data, You gotta make that change. You gotta go ahead and drop a follow over there.
Yeah, that was some really good info. Really good stuff.
Our play boosters. How is the new production going to impact draft? So they said, first, WotC focused on the fact that you could potentially open up to 4 rares in a pack. Theoretically true, but realistically, it's probably once in several boxes experience. We need to see what would need to happen. 1 rare or mythic slot is a given. You also have the common list or slot. Here, let's open this up so that we can refer to the picture as well. Open image in new tab. Okay, so we can see that. Boom. So 1 rare or mythic slot is a given. So we've got this here. Boom. Rare, mythic, rare. You also have a common / list slot. It's a regular common 87.5% of the time. That's the slot number 7. 7 times in 8 packs. So on average, in 3 packs per draft, you're going to open something else. But even in those cases, you still open mostly commons. And I think this is the part that we are forgetting, Jake. 9.38% of the time, you get a common or an uncommon from the list. Assuming 2/3 of the time that it's a common, 6.25% you get a list common. 1.56% of the time, about 1 per 3 draft pods worth of boosters, you would get a rare mythic list card at the same frequency that you get a special guest card. Special guest cards mainly at common. If 40 special guests, only 10 are rare or mythic. Based on those numbers in that slot, you would get some sort of a common 94% of the time, an uncommon 4% of the time, and a rare or mythic about 2% of the time. So practically, you're going to get a common. And that is this slot. This is the big, like, contentious spot here in this entire pack chat, because it could potentially contain a rare.
Corey G says, I got lost at 6.25. Start over.
The basic point is, in this spot where people are saying you could get a rare, 94% of the time you're going to get a common, and 4% of the time you're going to get an uncommon. So 98% of the time it's a common or an uncommon, taking all factors into consideration. That is the takeaway here. This spot, 98% of the time, is not going to produce a rare or a mythic. That's the big takeaway here. You also get the foil and non-foil wildcard slot, which could be rare or mythic. It could also be common or uncommon. And so you get a foil and non-foil wildcard slot with random rarity card. My guess, because the slot's not specified in the WotC article, is that it'll be 75% common, 20% uncommon, and 5% rare. It's guesswork, but he'd be shocked if that proportion's any different. Assuming on Arena you'll get 2x regular wildcard slots instead of foils. Actually, good, as the foil slot was a big difference between Arena and Paper, and that'll most likely be eliminated now thanks to that change. These being wildcards. To finish the tally, you have 6 common and 3 uncommon slots. So keeping in mind, I had to guesstimate some of the proportions, we end up with this average pack composition. And looking through replies to my previous tweets, it struck me I've seen similar numbers before. So, number of cards of each rarity per play pack, on average, just under 9 commons, just under 4 uncommons, and about 1 rare or mythic, 1.12% of the time, or per pack, 1.12 per pack on average. March of the Machine was almost certainly a pilot version of this new strategy. Remember how when this was announced, everybody was going, oh, they're like March of the Machine packs. So they were soft launching this and testing it on us. March of the Machine was almost certainly a pilot version of the new strategy. I don't remember crying that MOM was unplayable or that sealed and MOM was busted. Here's the anatomy of the March of the Machine pack that he did then. So regular set, March of the Machine. March of the Machine had 8.44 commons, 4.22 uncommons. Sorry, I hit back there. 4.22 uncommons. Look at this. Look how similarly these look. 8.44 commons, 4.22 uncommons, and 1.12 rares. And that was March of the Machine. If you like the limited March of the Machine, this shouldn't really affect you that much. Limited. Keeping in mind, I made some necessary estimates for the play pack. They look comparable with the mom packs. They had 1 extra uncommon. Increases his faith in the guesstimates. So what about sealed? It surely isn't great to have packs with 4 rares in them. Maybe it's not, but think about the frequency of those. Based on his estimates, 1 pack in 20,000 packs. Here's your quote that you can go tell your friends tomorrow. Based on some guesstimate math, and again, we will share all of these tweets and accounts and everything in the description. 1 pack in 20,000 packs will have 4 rares. Based on all these numbers.
Okay.
So, as far as limited impact goes, doesn't seem like it's going to be that big of a change. And if anything, it's going to feel like March of the Machine, because it seems like maybe they sort of soft launched us on this in March of the Machine. Takeaways. Chat, what do you think? Interesting? Not interesting? Lots of numbers coming at you tonight. You didn't know we were getting into the data.
Well, I mean, for me on this, I'll just say for myself, I wasn't going to be turned off by the composition of the packs. I actually was fine with this. I don't think we're going to get tons of packs that are stacked. Clearly, we're not going to get a pack that has 4 rares and or mythics.
No, 1 in 20,000.
That's going to be very, very difficult. But I do think there will be a lot more packs that have 1 or 2 rares. But remember, if you're in a draft, you're going to be passing stuff to people anyway.
Exactly.
So
that's the big
that's something to
there.
consider as well.
It really only affects sealed. And if you remember going back to the notes from their meeting, they really were like, pre-release is pretty much the only time sealed is even a thing. We don't care about it. It's fine. If it's a variant, if it's a variance, huge amount of rares, huge amount of explosive, exciting gameplay, that's a good thing in their opinion. Because that means that new players are getting turned on to this big, cool, splashy, dynamic, engaging, complicated game.
And they're going to put more removal in. Which they already said.
Jake is going to dream tonight about more removal.
Don't worry. There's going to be more removal. You're going to open a pack and it's going to have Doomblade, Fatal Push for the throat, and that's just in the black cards.